Domestic cases such as infidelity or child custody, things like that, those cases can be trying. I stay away from those now. I mean, some of the stories, you know, cheating wives and husbands, and then you call up that person and they're crying on the phone to you. Just some of the emotional baggage that goes along with the cases is pretty much stressful and unbearable at times. Sometimes as a detective in our line of work, we get very strange requests, and it brings to memory one that you had mentioned about a foreigner had wanted his wife watched.
Right, that's a great story. The story started out as I actually was referred the case by another investigator. He was having trouble understanding the client. He was from another country. He had recently come to the United States just a few years ago. I made contact with the client. We met, and he described that his wife had recently just arrived in the United States and she had a job at a restaurant. He felt that she was misbehaving or behaving badly for their culture. She was staying out late, possibly drinking, doing drugs, and that wasn't part of their custom. After I was finished talking with the client, I actually proceeded right over to where she was working at a restaurant. Just so I had a good idea what she looked like, I put on a hidden camera and went into the restaurant and had something to eat and got a good look at her. She seemed to be in good spirits. She was having fun with her friends. They were talking, goofing around. After that, I went back out to my car and I waited for her to get off work. About probably 9 o'clock at night, she came out. She got in her car and started driving away from her residence, not even in close to the same direction where she lives. And she ended up at one of the larger bookstores. When she pulled into the parking lot, she was by herself. And after she got out of the vehicle, I noticed another male on the other side of the parking lot. He was walking towards the store. And as they walked, they came closer and close together. And then they entered the store together. Through the large windows, I could see that they were actually together in the store. They stayed in the store about 2 hours. It looked pretty innocent. 2 hours in the bookstore is a long time to me. After they came out, they both got into his vehicle. They then drove to a parking lot where they parked in the rear of the parking lot. I could videotape the seats as they reclined them. And then the male, who was the driver, then climbed over into the passenger seat on top of the female subject. From my point of view, it was obvious to me they were engaged in sexual intercourse. And a few minutes later, when the act was complete, the door popped open and some evidence was thrown out the door. After that, they then went into the store, did some shopping, then he took the subject back to her vehicle, where she then returned to her house. After the surveillance was complete and the subject returned to her home, I contacted the client, who was actually not at home at the time. He was at his place of employment, and told him I had had some video evidence, and he immediately wanted to meet with me. I met with the client. I had a portable DVD player that I could show him the video. He watched the video, I believe 2 times. He watched the video and his face was like disbelief. He wasn't sure what he was watching. He actually said, "What am I looking at here?" And I explained to him that at this point they're reclined in the seats, and now here she's pulling her pants up. I believe they were having sex. And then at that point, he looked at me very seriously, said, "Can I offer you $500 if you can beat him up for me?"
Is that when you called me and asked if I wanted to make $500?
Yes, jokingly. I explained to the client that that isn't how we handle things, and I also advised him not to take matters into his own hands, to keep him out of trouble.